Today I'm going to show you an action thriller film titled First Blood. Be ready for spoilers ahead. The story of the film unfolds 10 years after the Vietnam War in the American Northwest. Rambo is searching for one of his friends from his unit named Delmore by traveling to his farm. Upon his arrival, Rambo quickly learns from Delmore's mother that Delmore passed away a few months ago from cancer, a result of exposure to Agent Orange. This grim news saddens Rambo, making him the last surviving member of his unit. The scene cuts to Rambo entering the small town of Hope on foot just to get a bite to eat. With his long hair and military-style coat, he is quickly spotted by the town's overzealous and paranoid sheriff, Will Teasel, who quickly drives Rambo out of town, noting his strong distaste for drifters. The sheriff rides him in the opposite direction, and when Rambo asks to stop and get some food, the lawman refuses. When Rambo questions why he's pushing him, the sheriff informs him that the town doesn't welcome his kind and mentions a diner 30 miles away. The sheriff drops him in the middle of nowhere and tells him he needs to cut off his hair and take a bath. There are no restaurants there, so Rambo turns around and starts walking back. The sheriff pulls him over, roughhouses him, and holds a gun to him, then arrests him for no reason. Rambo stands his ground against the officers at the station and is brutalized and harassed by Art Galt, the sheriff's cruel head deputy and closest friend. While being processed, Rambo has flashbacks to his time as a prisoner of war. When Galt and two other officers attempt to dry shave him with a straight razor, Rambo has a flashback to being tortured in a North Vietnamese POW camp back in 1969 and loses control. Using his military training, Rambo breaks free, beats them all barehanded, then takes on the whole force and anything that gets in his way, throws a civilian off a motorcycle, steals it, and is pursued into the nearby mountains. The sheriff loses to Rambo's strategy, causing the car to overturn and land on the rocks. Unable to ride up the rocky slope, Rambo runs off on foot. Feeling emasculated, the sheriff calls in the force requesting tracking dogs and a chopper. Rambo's survival instincts emerge, so he locates an abandoned mine, grabs a tarp, and prepares for a fight. The sheriff and his deputies are eventually forced to search for Rambo on foot, who climbs down onto a steep cliff to elude capture. Galt, having spotted Rambo from a helicopter, blatantly disregards protocol and attempts to shoot him without hesitation. Rambo dives into a cluster of trees, and upon encountering another corner, he defends himself by hurling a rock toward the helicopter. When the projectile rock hits the helicopter, it pitches, leading to Galt's fatal fall. Teasel, who did not see Galt's attempt to kill Rambo, vows to avenge his friend's death. The sheriff leads his deputies into the woods in an attempt to capture Rambo. However, the deputies lack experience and are prone to bickering, especially after hearing about Rambo's combat experience as a Green Beret and his status as a war hero on the radio. Mitch suggests that they should leave him alone, but Teasel grabs him and says they need to avenge Galt's death. Rambo prepares for their arrival with his guerrilla warfare skills. He carves wood, sets traps, and is ready for them. Rambo quickly disables the small and disorganized team using guerrilla tactics and booby traps, severely wounding but not killing the deputies. During the chaos, Rambo isolates the sheriff, pins him to a tree with a knife at his throat, and paralyzes the arrogant sheriff with fear, warning him about his capabilities and urging him to leave him alone while he still has the opportunity. Rambo walks away, urging the sheriff to let it go. The next morning the chopper arrives along with news crews, portraying John Rambo as a dangerous psychopath who escaped prison and needlessly killed an officer. A base camp is assembled near the site, and the National Guard is called in. Colonel Sam Troutman of the United States Special Forces arrives, claiming the credit for Rambo's training. He informs the sheriff that Rambo was trained to survive in harsh environments and engage in combat with superior numbers. He is surprised to find any of the deputies still alive and warns that it would be safer to let Rambo go and find him in a few days after the situation has calmed down. Fueled by a mixture of scorn and pride, the hot-headed Teasel refuses to heed his advice. Knowing that Rambo had stolen a CB radio from one of his men, Teasel allows Troutman to talk to Rambo. Troutman tries to convince Rambo to give himself up, however, Rambo refuses, citing his deplorable treatment by Teasel and his men. Troutman suggests that Rambo shouldn't have fought back so harshly, to which Rambo states that they drew first blood, then switched the radio off. After pinpointing his location, more than 200 rambunctious soldiers go after him with automatic weapons. Rambo hides in the woods and mistakes a kid out hunting game for one of the officers pursuing him, and Rambo has to force himself to let the kid go. After setting the kid free, he alerts the soldiers, who then fire at Rambo without much discretion. Rambo retreats to the mine shaft for safety. The sheriff received an alert and instructed the soldiers to bring Rambo in alive without resorting to any shooting. The National Guard corners Rambo in a mine entrance, where he has sought refuge. Despite receiving directive orders, the novice guardsmen fire a rocket at Rambo, collapsing the entrance and trapping him inside. They assume Rambo is dead. Unbeknownst to his pursuers, Rambo has escaped into the tunnels of the mine. Troutman thinks it's a shame such a special soldier got killed by a rocket on his own soil by his own people. He suspects Rambo is still alive but says nothing. Rambo finds some old fuel and makes an improvised torch. After wading through waist-deep water and fighting off rats, Rambo cleverly uses the flame of the torch as an indicator of airflow to find an escape to the surface. Meanwhile, Troutman enjoys a drink with the sheriff, who apologizes for his overzealous behavior and attempts to show dominance. Troutman can't believe the ignorance and arrogance of the sheriff. Rambo finally sees the light and realizes that the latter is free. However, the area is crawling with law enforcement officers. When an army truck passes, he jumps onto the roof. In summary, Rambo hijacks a passing U.S. Army cargo truck, throws out the driver, and tries to return to town. However, the police are hotly pursuing him, and they begin firing at the truck. Rambo manages to ram and damage the police car, then pushes it into another vehicle, causing it to explode. The cops set up roadblocks and kept shooting at the truck, but Rambo was able to force himself through them. Rambo makes it back to the town, crashing the army truck into a gas station. He blocks the highway to anyone in pursuit by igniting the spilled fuel, also destroying the stolen truck. Armed with an M60 machine gun, Rambo then goes on a shooting spree in town as the residents flee. Rambo shoots up and destroys a sporting goods shop and a few other businesses in an attempt to confuse the authorities. The sheriff activates the horn, directing all citizens to flee the streets. The sheriff plans on taking Rambo down on his own, however, Troutman advises him to back off. Disregarding his advice, the arrogant sheriff is determined now to kill Rambo at all costs and tells Troutman to stay out of this. Rambo is carrying a giant gun and has a plan to lure the sheriff out. Teasel, the coward, decides to go to the roof and play sniper, knowing that the moment Rambo shows up, he will kill him. Rambo swiftly explodes the transformer to extinguish the town's lights. He then blasts into a country store that has tons of ammunition. He stacks explosives inside the store, prepares a gunpowder fuse, and then ignites it. After the explosion, Rambo spots Sheriff Teasel on the roof of the station and angrily shoots up his office. Rambo carefully enters the police station. Rambo, aware of Teasel's presence on the roof, darts under the skylight, using the fire as bait to reveal his exact location. When Teasel fires at Rambo, he notes his position and returns fire through the ceiling with the M60, injuring him. Teasel falls through the skylight onto the floor, and Rambo angrily steps over him, prepared to kill him. Before Rambo can shoot, Colonel Troutman appears and tells him that there is no hope of escaping alive since he's now surrounded by the police. Rambo rages about the horrors of war and the difficulties he has faced adapting to civilian life. He's tired of being misunderstood, lamenting how in the army he was a war hero, but back at home he could not even be trusted to work as a valet. He weeps as he recounts a particularly gruesome story about witnessing his friend dying by having his legs blown off by a booby-trapped shoeshine box planted by a Viet Cong child operative. Troutman holds the weeping Rambo, comforting him. He tells his soldier that he must let go of the past. Left without a choice, Rambo turns himself into Troutman and is arrested. The movie ends as he and Troutman exit the police station. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this.